So hi guys, we're from group 1. There are Occa, Hafidz, Al-Ghony, Rahayu, Citra, Utami, Dwiki, Mifta, Saputra, Kholid, Syaifullah, Salim, and Khadila, Indria, Safitri. We're gonna explain about speaking in another language. As the first speaker, I'm Rahayu Citra Utami. I'm gonna explain about the difference between the native speaker and the other language speakers. As a speaker, we must speak fluently in front of our audience, but sometimes we face some problems because the difference of the mother language with the other language that we learn. The first point on the difference between native speaker and the other speakers. We can upgrade our skill by increasing aspect we want to improve. For example, if we want to enrich our vocabularies, we can challenge ourselves, target ourselves to remembering 5 or more words in a day. And then we can learn about the grammar by application or books, try to solve the trial after we sense the materials. The second point, trying to practice interactive speaking to decrease failure. We can do this by real-time talk in front of class or our family. Then we can manage our conversation turn, we can check our fluency, and then we can also check our pronunciation. Do we say the pronunciation good or we say the pronunciation wrong? And the third point, despairing searches of the word can be the most biggest problem for the learners. Why? Sometimes as the learners we are afraid to speak or we are afraid to learn the other language, we are afraid to make some failure. But we can solve it by trying to learn the lyrics, trying to learn with the film, with the same language that we want to learn. We have to try to sense, to remember, and to understand what the meaning, also the word that we have learned before. I think that's for the difference between the native speakers and the other speakers. Then we've got to move to the communication strategies.
Okay, I want to tell the second materials. This is a communication strategy. The strategy's competence is achieved by means of what are called communication strategies. Some commonly encountered communication strategies are: first, circumlocution, such as "I get a rat in my head" to mean spy. Second, word coinage, such as vegetarians for vegetarian. Third, phrasing a word, such as turning the Spanish word like una carpeta, meaning a file of paper, into the English sounding a carpet. Next, approximation, using an alternative related word, such as using work table for workbench. Next, using an all-purpose word, such as stuff, think, make, and do. Next, language switch, using the L1 word or expression, also called code switching. Next, paralinguistic, using gesture, meme, and so on to copy the intent meaning. Last, appealing for help, for example, by leaving an utterance incomplete. That's all for the second materials, and next to the third materials.
What the second language speakers need to know? The first point is social knowledge. Is the collective knowledge produced through relationships and connection within a particular group. It's like social behavior or cross-cultural encounters. The second point is genre knowledge. Knowing how different speech events is important. Students are expected to adjust to the conventions of particular genres in their events. The third point is speech acts. Any of the acts that may be performed by a speaker in making an utterance, as stating, asking, requesting, advising, warning, or persuading, considered in terms of the content of the message, the intention of the speaker, and the effect on the listener. The next point is register. Is the way people use different words, spelling, or grammar, talk or write differently to different people in different situations. They might be more polite to strangers, for example, or they will be more respectful to their boss at work. The fifth point is discourse. Discourse refers to unit language longer than a single sentence. The word discourse is derived from the Latin prefix dis meaning away, and the root word currere meaning to run. Discourse therefore translates to run away and refers to the way that conversations flow. To study discourse is to analyze the use of spoken or written language in social contexts, including use of grammar and vocabulary. And the next is grammar. Is the set of structural rules that govern the compositions of clauses, phrases, and words in any given natural language. The study of such rules and this field includes morphology, syntax, and phonology, often complemented by phonetics, semantics, and pragmatics. The seventh point is vocab. Is a set of familiar words within a person's language. A vocabulary usually developed with age serves as a useful and fundamental tool for communication and acquiring knowledge. The last point is phonology. It's a branch of linguistics that studies how language or dialects systematically organize their sounds. The term also refers to the sound system of any particular language variety. At one time, the study of phonology only related to the study of the systems of phonemes in spoken languages.
If teachers determine what it is they really want students to know and do as a result of their course, and then provide activity designs to develop the performance they desire. Appropriate assessment needs to be incorporated into the learning process so that teachers and students can determine whether the learning goals are being achieved in time to do something about shortcomings before the course is over. Teachers need to consider the implication of research finding and determine how they relate to particular courses, students, and available resources. There is not just one blueprint for change. Teachers should think about and continually assess the personal theories of learning and teaching in light of the evidence classroom experience provides. Teachers should experiment with different teaching approaches and activities and monitor the results not only by using conventional tests but by carefully listening to students and evaluating information reflecting different aspects of their learning. In this way, teachers may continually analyze and refine their theories of how students learn step. And there are three theories of language learning that are relevant to the teaching of speaking: behaviorist, cognitivist, and socio-cultural. All three theories have elements in common, especially when these are translated into classroom procedure. The surface similarities, however, shouldn't be allowed to disguise the fact that each theory reflects a very different conceptions of mind. The behaviorist mind is simply in a brain pushed, pulled, and modeled by force beyond its control. The cognitive mind is a computerized black box, busily processing input into output. The sociocultural mind is a network, a joint construct of the discourse community through which it is distributed. Each metaphor for the mind clearly has different implications in terms of learning and of language learning in particular. Nevertheless, each theory incorporates a stage which roughly equates with awareness, whereby the learner encounters something new, and each theory attempts to explain how this knowledge is integrated. And finally,
I will explain the conclusion of the presentation. The conclusion is the difficulties that the learner speaker faces break down into two main areas. 1. Knowledge factors. The learner doesn't yet know aspects of the language that enable production. In terms of the knowledge base that enable speech, learners need a core grammar, a core vocabulary of at least 1,000 high-frequency items, some common discourse markers, a core phrase book of multi-words units or chunks, formulaic ways of performing common speech acts, such as requesting or inviting, mastery of these features of pronunciation that inhibit intelligibility. In order to activate these knowledge areas and make them available for use in fluent, face-to-face talk in the learning process needs to include at least 3 stages. Learners need to be made aware of features of target knowledge base, awareness, to integrate these features into their exciting knowledge base, appropriation, to develop the capacity to mobilize these features under real-time condition and unassisted autonomy. 2. Skills factors. The learner's knowledge is not sufficiently automated to ensure fluency. The factors make learners less self-confident and less comfortable in their speaking classes. The findings of this paper indicate that learners with a low self-esteem, higher anxiety, and low motivation have serious difficulties in speaking skill in spite of having acceptable linguistic skills. The paper showed that students who have higher motivation and lower anxiety can speak easily and effectively. In the chapter that follows, we will look at the first of these areas, awareness, and suggest ways that learners' awareness of the features of spoken language can be optimized. In the 2 subsequent chapters, we will consider activities that target appropriation and autonomy. I think this enough. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.